Weather Impact Team. We're doing a special extended weather update here on 11 Alive Plus as we're tracking mainly rain that is moving through our area. It's just generally a few light raindrops, nothing really heavy at all. It just kind of dampens the road a little bit. Temperatures here in the metro area still well above freezing, so we're not concerned about any type of winter weather here. We have been watching those spots in North Georgia where we have seen some mixing that has been taking place, and that has been mainly in those highest elevations of North Georgia where we have been seeing that pushing on through. Here's a closer look in the metro area, and you'll see here nothing really major. We've just had a few raindrops moving through here and there. At first, all of that green we were seeing earlier, not all of that was making it to the ground in the form of rain. Now our atmosphere is moistening up a little bit more, and we are able to see more of those light raindrops making it down to the road. Still, nothing really heavy there. We're, also watching in North Georgia. In those highest elevations, we are seeing some areas that have been picking up a few snow flurries here and there. Again, nothing really major, but just kind of neat to see some of those flurries kind of blowing around over parts of North Georgia. And notice here the pink that you see kind of showing up at times as some of that moisture was moving through. That is where we have that kind of lines up with those highest elevations, and it is those highest elevations where we have seen some of those snowflakes. We're talking elevations 2,000 feet or higher, really even above 3,000 feet maybe is a little bit more of a marker where we might see some of those snow flurries that have been pushing through. I want to show you here what we're watching now. What we had earlier was just the initial bit of moisture that was pushing into North Georgia, coming in from the northwest, moving down toward the southeast. Then that broke up a little bit. Now we have the last bit of moisture moving in. This is actually ahead of the cold front that's moving our way. And there's a little better bit of moisture with this coming in right now in the southern parts of Gilmer County, through parts of Gordon County, northern Floyd County, moving through the Rome area, stretching back into Alabama. And so this is all in northwest Georgia, still mainly raindrops there as well. But we have been watching, though, with this last bit of moisture coming in, that in those highest elevations, we have actually seen some of those spots where it has been mixing in somewhat. The other thing I want you to know is that even after this last bit of moisture moves in, the cold air is really going to start rushing in as well. And what that's going to do is it's going to squeeze out any remaining moisture that's still left in the atmosphere in the form of a few snowflakes, still just mainly for those highest elevations in parts of North Georgia. And that might be so light that it's not going to show up on radar. So the point I'm trying to make here is that even though you're not seeing a lot of this on radar, we could still have some snowflakes there because it's just so light that it's not showing up. And again, it's because it's almost like if you have a sponge with water in it, and the sponge has holes in it, but there's no water coming out of it. You could hold it up and not have any water dripping out of it. But if you squeeze that sponge, that'll squeeze out any moisture in it, and then you can see some water coming out of it. And that's similar to what we have going on within these clouds here. Those clouds have moisture in them, but the water may not be coming out of it. But as the cold air rushes in, it's going to squeeze out any remaining moisture, and that could still be in the form of a few snowflakes even after this part of the system moves on through. And you'll see here as we widen out a little bit more, that stretches back into parts of northern Alabama where they're seeing, again, mainly just raindrops there as well. So the only parts that we're really watching, highest elevations in North Georgia. We're also seeing some mixing coming out of the mountains there in East Tennessee, moving into parts of western North Carolina too. I want to check with our director there. Do we know if we have Angelina yet? Okay. Okay. Let's try it. So what's happening is, they're at a higher elevation, Angelina and her photographer. All right, here's Angelina right now. Angelina, I want to explain to our viewers that the shot keeps coming in and out, so this might not be the best technologically advanced interview that we do here, but I see you've got a pretty good shot there too. So if you see Angelina freezing up occasionally, this is why, but I feel like it's worth coming to you, and hopefully if you can hear me now, just tell me, we did a live shot with you. We put your shot up at the end of the 6:30 newscast, 6 o'clock newscast tonight at 6:30. Then in our 6:30 stream, we also, okay, she just froze up there, but in our 6:30 stream, we also did a live shot with her, and she was up at Hog Pen Gap. They're driving around a little bit right now, which that's what's making the shot a little bit tricky because they're in those highest elevations of North Georgia. That, it's just kind of a little bit harder to get those shots there. But she was showing us up in Hog Pen Gap a few snowflakes that were coming down there, as well as we were able to look at some of the rocks there along the mountain where the water drips from those. And we were seeing some icicles there too. So Angelina, let's try you again to see how it is looking here. What all have you been seeing tonight? I know that you've been in those highest elevations up at Hog Pen Gap. Y'all drove back down the mountain to get something to eat. Now you're going back up. What are you seeing now?
So right now, Chris, it's actually not even raining. That's not something that we have seen, I guess, for the last hour or so, I would say. It is very, very cold, though. You can feel it as we continue to go up in the mountain. When we went down to go get food, we went down about 20 minutes. We were in Helen, and it was a lot. I would say it was still cold, but it was not as cold as it was as we were up at some of the highest elevations that are in this area. Georgia. So as we continue to go up in the mountain, it continues to get a little bit colder. And as you have said, that precipitation that we are supposed to be seeing over the next few hours, because it's so cold up here, that's the reason why we could see the flurries that we were starting to see a few hours ago when we were with you guys at 6:30 and at 6 as well. So I want you guys to take a look at what it looks like as we continue to drive up the mountain towards the Hog Pen Gap area, where we were located at around 6:30 earlier today, where we saw those icicles as well. So right now, there are not very many people that are actually on the roads out here. We saw a few people that were here a little bit earlier, basically trying to see if it was going to snow. Roads that are out.
All right, so we'll hold just
people
for a second.
People were actually telling us that they saw some trucks coming by, and that's why they were asking us questions about it.
All right, so we warned you that we were going to have some technical issues.
So we tried to answer their questions as best as we could, but we did.
All right, that's just the tricky part of doing these live shots there in the mountains.
So here, as we continue to go up in the mountain and find that same exact spot that we were at by Hog Pen Gap, ice was forming. We saw some icicles in the water as well. We will let you guys know when we tend to see those snowflakes falling as well over the next several hours, Chris.
All right, that sounds great, Angelina. We'll let you go because we know that that shot is just a little bit tricky there as y'all are driving up the mountain. Again, Angelina is the passenger in the vehicle. Her photographer and driver, Nicholas, is navigating them up to that mountain. I want to show you where they're talking about. Here's Helen. She mentioned they drove down the mountain to grab a bite to eat. So this is between Helen and Blairsville. Many of you might be familiar with the Richard Russell Scenic Highway. That is the highway that they were on right there. And they were going up to, and she mentioned it, Hog Pen Gap, which is an area along the Richard Russell Scenic Highway where the Appalachian Trail actually crosses over that. It's pretty much right on the county line. This is the county line here between White County and Union County right here, again, between Helen and Blairsville. So they were on that road. Again, the shot to get them is really tricky, but she did get some snow flurries earlier. We had some of the ice that was showing up, as the water was coming along some of those rocks of the mountain. We had a beautiful view earlier of just some of those icicles that were there too. So what we're going to be watching, though, is still not a lot of snow in those spots there in North Georgia. This is really the last bit of organized moisture that is pushing through now. But again, as I mentioned, as the cold air rushes in tonight, and she was saying that even them driving up the mountain, they could feel it getting colder as they go up in that in those higher elevations there, and that is normal that it gets colder at the tops of the mountains too. But at the same time, as this front comes through, that's going to start ushering in that cold air here in those areas too. So let's take a closer look at this. I want to show you what else we're watching out there for tonight. We'll walk over to the key and I'll kind of walk through here what we're watching. You can see again those areas of rain, but really, we have the bigger story as we're focusing on really trying to find where there is some snow tonight in North Georgia. The bigger story is going to be the Arctic air that is going to be moving in. And we have multiple waves that'll be moving in. We have one coming in tonight where tomorrow we're going to see the wind chills and in the single digits in the teens. Reinforcing shot of colder air coming in Saturday. Well, you'll need more coats and multiple layers. And then we have a potential Saturday, a low risk, mainly in North Georgia, of another bit of winter precip that could move in, just some light accumulations there again. But Sunday now, we have another interesting scenario that's going to develop, and that's all depending on whether or not an area of low pressure develops in the Gulf and moves across South Georgia. If that happens, there will be a better chance for some winter weather in parts of central and South Georgia than what we would have here in Metro Atlanta or in North Georgia. But if the track of that low changes at all, that could push a little more moisture our way, and we would have to watch for the potential for maybe some snow developing in parts of our area too. But I'll show you that on the maps in just a bit. This is a live view right now in Rome, and I was showing you there on the maps that last bit of rain that was moving through. That's in northwest Georgia. Rome is getting that right now. We've got some drops of rain on the lens here. You can see how the roads are wet. Look at these flags, though. As the front comes through, those winds are really going to start whipping up here, and that's what's ushering in that colder air. So Rome is already seeing that. It's a little bit calmer here in the metro area. This is a live view that we have at Georgia Tech. We do have a few clouds around. We've been tracking a couple of raindrops here and there in our area. And then back up to North Georgia, this is Blue Ridge. Now, Blue Ridge is in North Georgia, but it's at a lower elevation, and the temperatures there on the surface are not as cool as they are in those higher elevations where Angelina was. Roads are still wet here, but no active precip is coming down right now. We don't see any snow in the area. Now, as you look at that road there in Blue Ridge that crosses over the railroad track right here, it is wet. What we think is going to happen, and a lot of people are wondering, could we see black ice tonight? There is a chance that you could see some spotty areas of black ice overnight, again, mainly in North Georgia, where they've had a little bit more of that moisture. But as the wind kicks up, that's really going to help to dry up the roads so that before we get to freezing, things should be drying up. So I don't think it's going to be widespread icing, but there may be some spots, especially in far North Georgia, where we could see things turning a little bit slick, possibly in patches. Here's another look at Atlanta right now. Yeah, there you see that, excuse me, that cloud cover that we have over us right now, but still a beautiful view of our city skyline. So here's a look at the snow potential for tonight, and it's mainly in those highest elevations. This pretty much lines up on our terrain map here with those highest elevations pretty much right along here, and that's where we could see some of that snow. We don't expect any here in Atlanta. It's just been a few raindrops here. But then I want you to know, going into Saturday, did you see how that area of snow grew a little bit? There's going to be another chance for some mixing early on Saturday morning. Still confined, though, to those highest elevations of North Georgia. And then going into Sunday, I've got that interesting scenario that I'm going to tell you about here in just a few minutes. So here's the almanac for today. We got up to 52. That's actually a little bit below the average. We should be at 54. Yesterday was 62 degrees, so today was 10 degrees cooler, but not as cold as what we're going to be tomorrow. Our low this morning was 43. Tomorrow morning, we're going to be in the 20s, and then afternoon highs tomorrow are going to be around 37, 38 degrees. So as you can see, that's well below the averages. We should be around 54 this time of year for a high. We should be around 35 this time of year for the low. So here's how the temperatures today timed out. Really, our coolest temperature was at 11 o'clock when it was 43 degrees. Then we got up into those 50s. Now we're dropping, going down into the 40s. The front has not moved through yet. This is just general cooling here for an evening. But then overnight, we're going to see these numbers really going down. And in fact, by tomorrow morning, we're going to be in the 20s. So right now, we're at 47. It's 47 in Marietta, 45 in Canton. We have 41 in Blairsville, 41 in Dalton, 39 in Clayton. The colder air is going to be a pretty sharp contrast that we're going to be watching here through the overnight hours where that front moves in, and we're going to see that cold air really diving into our area. And look at these temperatures here. 9 o'clock's 46. It'll be 42 at 11. 36 at 1, and we keep on going down to 25 here tomorrow morning. And also any clouds will move out. We'll see clearing skies, and that will help to enhance the ability to cool some through the nighttime hours. So here's what we're watching. We're watching the moisture that's going to move away. We'll see these clouds breaking up more here later on tonight. It gets windy. The cold air really starts rushing in here. And again, in the mountains of North Georgia, that cold air can squeeze out any remaining moisture there in the form of a few flurries, but nothing major. So the big story for tomorrow is going to be the cold. A lot of sunshine, but we're just not going to warm up that much. Highs only in the 30s in the afternoon. And when you factor in the wind, it's going to make it feel even colder. Then on Friday, another cold start, but we do warm up a little bit more Friday, most likely getting up into the 50s. You see that flow coming back from the south. That'll help to warm us up, but no, it's not going to stay warm. Another cold surge comes in for the weekend with limited moisture again. Saturday, Friday night into Saturday, we'll watch some of this moisture feeding in, and again in North Georgia, early on Saturday morning, the potential for a few flurries still mixing in those higher elevations, mainly a few raindrops here. That moves out quickly. Our wind is going to shift again, and then it's going to get cold. Here's the interesting scenario I want to show you going into Sunday, all right? Here's the first bit going Friday through Saturday. That moves away. It gets cold, that northerly flow, but now look at Sunday. What we're going to watch is the potential for an area of low pressure developing, pushing up into South Georgia, into an area that's already established with cold air in place. And as it does that, we're going to see the potential for some snow in central and South Georgia. This is based on the European model, all right? And then watch as it goes into later in the day on Sunday, possibly along the Georgia coast, maybe even the South Carolina coast, potentially seeing a little bit of snow there. Then it changes over into rain. And then we're going to dry out into next week with really cold air next week too, with lows in the 20s and also highs that'll be in the 40s going into next week. So I'm going to show you the model comparison. The reason I showed you the European model is because that's the one that I feel more likely is going to be what could happen here on Sunday. But let me show you the comparison, where the European doesn't show anything for Metro Atlanta. That snow that I showed you was down into central and South Georgia. But this is what the American model shows. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't use the American model a lot, especially after a 48-hour time frame, like 48 hours ahead, because it is constantly putting out some crazy scenarios. And those are the things that people share online most of the time that freak people out when we know as meteorologists that what it's showing most likely may not happen. But what we're going to be watching over the next couple of days is to see if the American model settles down and keeps that down to the south, or if the European model starts showing that moisture that can move up into our area. And that's all going to depend on the track of low pressure that could develop in the Gulf. If it moves more to the north of us or more to the north closer to us, then that would spread more moisture our way. If it stays down to the south, that would keep the snow chances down in central and South Georgia. And that's the scenario that I'm kind of going with right now. But just know we here at 11 Alive and the Weather Impact team, all the meteorologists here are watching this, and we will, be fine-tuning that for you over the next few days. So here's the cold air diving our way on Thursday. A little milder Friday, another blast of cold air coming in for the weekend, and it's going to stay cold going into next week too. So here is your 7-day forecast. You can see that high of 38 Thursday. Then it's cold again Friday morning to 25 with a high of 50, mostly sunny skies. So a little warmer in the afternoon. 48 Saturday. A winter mix possible in far north Georgia early on Saturday morning. And then on Sunday, right now, we're going with just a 20% chance for a shower here in Atlanta. We think most of that moisture would be in central and South Georgia, but we'll let you know if that changes, if the models indicate that moisture potentially pushing more to the north. But as you see, the cold air is in place. So if that moisture moves in, that's something that we'll have to watch there on Sunday. Then 22 Monday morning with a high of 45. 24 Tuesday morning with a high of 40, 23 Wednesday morning with a high of 48. So it is going to be cold going into next week too. So thanks for watching this extended weather update here on 11 Alive Plus and Weather Impact 24/7. I'll have another update coming up tonight at 9 o'clock, right back here with you on 11 Alive Plus. We'll do it again at 10, and then our full newscast coming up tonight at 11. Thanks for watching. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb from the 11 Alive Weather Impact Team, where we are tracking moisture moving through. The race is on between the light rain moving out and the cold air moving in, and we are seeing some overlapping now in parts of North Georgia where we have that mixing in with some snow. Before I take you live to Angelina Salcido in just a second here, I want to give you a breakdown of what's happening. This is the main bit of moisture that's moving down to the south, and that is associated with the front. Behind this, the air is getting colder fast. And I want to take you up to North Georgia here on the maps. You can see what we're watching. Now, our Angelina Salcido is right in this area between Helen and Blairsville, right on the line there between White County and Union County at Hogpen Gap. And you don't really see anything going on there. Now, we did have some stuff showing up on radar here in those highest elevations where we had some snow. Now, even though you're not seeing that on radar, as I explained earlier, that even though we're going to have that main area of moisture moving down to the south, as the cold air rushes in, it's squeezing out any remaining moisture there from those clouds in the form of flurries in the highest elevations. Let's get right to Angelina Salcido right now, live in our weather impact tracker. And Angelina, you know, we've been watching this, and on your camera, every once in a while, we would see a snowflake or two. That has changed now, hasn't it?
It has changed, and we actually saw a lot of flurries that were coming down. And I will tell you that the wind has picked up here a significant amount as well. We also saw a lot of fog coming through that was actually blocking the camera from us being able to see those flurries. But as those flurries continued to come down, the air got noticeably colder. We actually went outside to shoot some video of the snow as it was coming down, some of the icicles that have been forming on the side of the mountain as well. So we're going to take you outside so that way you guys can see what it looks like right now. Keep in mind that this is actually a lot less than what we were seeing probably just about 10 to 15, maybe 12 minutes ago. But you can see as this wind continues to come in and whip through, it is bringing those flurries with it. And that was the precipitation that we were seeing just a few hours ago. With the colder temperatures moving in as the night continues to fall, that is what has turned into some flurries here. So if we continue to pan the camera around, you can see in what direction the wind is coming from, the fact that it's whipping these flurries around, and the fact that this snow has really started to fall here. I was told that the roads that are out here along the mountain and even down in Helen, which is just about 20 minutes away from where we're located right now, were actually treated ahead of this snow coming in here and falling down, just as a precaution to make sure that if the temperatures continue to fall overnight, we don't get any of that black ice that typically forms on the roads there because of how cold it is at these higher elevations. I think if we also zoom in here a little bit to the side of the mountain, you'll be able to see these icicles that have been forming. These formed a few hours ago, actually, because of how cold it is up here. The camera is going to continue to shake because of the wind continuing to whip, and that's made it a little bit hard for us to control here. But you can see that the icicles continue to form. They continue to get longer. A little bit earlier, we were actually seeing more water dripping down, but that has now frozen over. And we are anxious to see what this is actually going to look like as the temperatures continue to fall here overnight, and what we could see overnight when people wake up as well, Chris.
And Angelina, what you have just described there is the whole transformation of everything that we are watching up in North Georgia. And what's happening now is, you mentioned the temperatures falling and that wind is really whipping up. So you're now on the back side of the front, and what's happening is that cold air that's rushing in right now is just squeezing out any leftover moisture within those clouds. And you see some of the fog there, and in some of those bigger pieces there, you've got some snowflakes that are coming down too. And it was amazing. You texted me about 15, 20 minutes ago and said, Chris, we've got some good snow here now. And I ran out to the newsroom to look at your shot, and it was just really blowing pretty well. Now, I do have to ask you, this is mainly blowing snow, and you're not really seeing any accumulation. I know we don't see any on the road, but you don't see any on the grassy areas or anything, though, right now?
No, we have not. The only thing that I did do when I went outside, and we shot a video so that way people could see it on social media as well, is the snow kind of sticking to the side of the car. But it seems more like iciness, I guess, or a little bit slushy instead of, you know, that thick and like fluffy snow that you would see. So I would say that that's the only difference here that we've seen.
And where you are, Angelina, at Hogpen Gap, right there on the Union and White County line, you're at about between 3,400 and 3,500 feet. So it was much different when you went down the mountain to Helen earlier, it was just rain there, right?
Yeah, it was just rain that we were seeing, and then even at one point after we ended up getting our food and talking to some people that were in town, we actually didn't see any rain for a little bit until we got further up to the mountain, trying to work our way up to this point, and that's when we started to see, okay, a little bit of precipitation is falling, and then we eventually started to see, oh, that precipitation is starting to change over, and my photographer Nicholas and I kind of looked at each other and we were both like, oh, is it happening now? Is it starting to snow? Because when the rain gets close to the camera lens, it can tend to look like snow, but it's still just rain. It was pretty obvious when it turned into snow, and it was whipping pretty hard, and there were a lot of different flakes for us to see too. It was pretty cool.
And Angelina, that's the thing with this. It's going to be brief. There might be just a few lingering flurries around during the evening hours as these temperatures continue to fall. So that's why we didn't think this would be a really big deal up in North Georgia. But we sent you there to document any snow flurries that happened. And as we've said, it is mainly in those highest elevations. And again, you know, at Hogpen Gap, that's a pretty high spot. Now, Brasstown Bald is the highest spot in Georgia, and I'm sure they're having some of the flurries there too. But did you notice the differences as you were coming from Helen, then going up the Richard Russell Scenic Highway, and as you got to those higher elevations? You did kind of explain there how you noticed that precipitation changing a little bit more as those temperatures falling as you went up higher.
Yeah, I would say that was pretty much the main thing that we noticed, was not just the shift in the precipitation from seeing none down in Helen to then slowly starting to see more and more as we got to a higher elevation, but then also feeling the temperature change while we were actually in the car. You could feel it against the window. I'd put my hand, and my photographer would ask me like, oh, well, what are you doing? And I was like, no, you can actually feel that it's colder, and he actually said the same exact thing. So you can definitely tell the change the higher the elevation that you are. I can only imagine what it actually feels like at the highest point that there is in Georgia, because it's pretty cold up here, especially with the wind whipping around here as that system continues to move through.
Well, Angelina, as uncomfortable as that wind is going to feel to you when you're going to be out, the wind is actually our friend when it comes to that moisture on the ground. So the wind will help to evaporate that moisture that is on the ground there from the rain a little bit earlier, and then again from any of this additional precip coming down. But we want to let people know, especially in North Georgia and in those higher elevations, there might be a period where that wind doesn't dry up enough of that, and there could be some icy patches around. So as you and Nicholas navigate back down the mountain, I'm assuming after our 11 o'clock newscast tonight, please be extra careful, just because those temperatures are falling quickly, and hopefully those roads will dry out in time before we get to that critical freezing mark. Now, one thing in our favor, even if the air temperature is at 32 degrees, the ground won't be 32 yet. So it'll take a little bit longer for the road to freeze up. So we're just hoping that that wind, that I know makes it feel terrible, is going to help the process of drying out those roads. And I hope that y'all experience that tonight when you're driving back down.
Yes, I definitely hope that we do too. And something that we also talked about is when we put ourselves in these situations where we are in the weather impact truck, the truck is obviously built for these conditions, and that's exactly why we take it to these areas in order for us to cover stuff like this. But the camera that's on the top of the truck that we typically show you guys, like we show you guys the flurries and the ice as well, that camera tends to freeze over once we continue to be in the elements and the wind continues to whip and stuff like that. So it hasn't quite gotten to that point yet where we're not able to actually maneuver the camera or move it around. So we'll see if we actually get there. But like you said, the fact that the air temperature is actually colder than the road, that is what makes the difference here.
Yeah, all right, Angelina. Y'all stay safe up there. You've shown us some great, in fact, flip that camera back around one more time just before we go, just so we can see how the conditions have changed. Just see, it's amazing there how, Angelina, how we'll have blowing snow, 20, 15 minutes ago, and then not as much snow, and there you see a little bit now, and then even earlier where you were showing some of the fog up there too, that was making the visibility reduce. So it's amazing how those conditions really can change from minute to minute.
Yes, it has actually been pretty incredible. We were a little bit concerned before we were going to come on air on the stream with you guys here at 9 o'clock because you actually couldn't see anything from our camera. Now, obviously, you can see a little bit more. You can still see some of those flurries that are coming through. But when I texted you originally, we were seeing a lot of different flurries, and that was pretty incredible to see. And the fog as well as it came through. You could see the different precipitation or particles that were in the air at that time, too. So that was pretty cool.
All right, Angelina, thank you so much. We will look forward. I don't know, we're going to let y'all have a break here unless you're seeing crazy stuff at 10. I'm going to do another stream at 10, but we'll let you have a break because I know you've got to get ready for the 11 o'clock show. But if y'all are seeing crazy stuff there at 10, let us know and we'll do another shot with you coming up for our stream at 10 o'clock.
Okay, we definitely will.
All right, otherwise we'll see you tonight at 11. All right, let's talk more about what we're watching. We've got this Arctic Express moving in. Let's take a look at this over at the Key, and you'll see what we're talking about with that cold air that's moving in. Angelina's feeling it right now. North Georgia is getting that blowing wind, that blowing cold air coming in first, and then that's what's going to be moving into Atlanta later. Now, we're not going to see the snow like they're seeing up at 3,500 feet in elevation there at Hog Pen Gap. But we are going to see the cold air moving in, and tomorrow is going to be much different than what we had out there today, where we saw temperatures today that were in the lower 50s. Tomorrow, our highs will only be in the 30s, but with the wind, it is going to feel even colder. In fact, tomorrow morning, when you wake up to temperatures in the 20s, the wind chill is going to be in the single digits and the teens. So bundle up in the morning. We have another reinforcing shot of colder air coming in on Saturday. And then a new development that we're watching here within the models for Sunday is whether or not an area of low pressure is going to develop and send moisture into the already established cold air in Georgia. And what's interesting with this scenario is that there may be a higher chance for snow in central and south Georgia compared to what we might have here in North Georgia. So I'll break that down for you coming up here as we look at this Arctic air. Now, here's a view in Blue Ridge, also in North Georgia, but at a lower elevation. And we're just seeing mainly rain there in Blue Ridge. We don't see any snow coming down in those spots either. Rome also, we watched that last bit of rain move through there. And we have wet roads, but no additional precip coming down. The flags were really blowing here earlier as that rain was coming through. And we'll see those flags blowing a little bit more as that wind continues to kick up. And then we have a few clouds around the metro area. We had a few spotty showers, mainly light here. Another view of those clouds from our tower cam over Arizona Avenue, looking westward toward the city. Beautiful view. We've got good visibility. A couple of raindrops there on the lens from some of the showers that came through a little bit earlier. So our snow potential map that we have been showing you over the past couple of days is pretty much lining up with where we are seeing that, and that lines up with just these higher elevations there. I mentioned earlier, Angelina is at Hog Pen Gap, right on the White and Union County line, right around here on the Richard Russell Scenic Highway. And it's in that little spine there of the mountains where we're seeing some of that accumulation of, not accumulation, but just some of that blowing snow that's coming down. Now, this is not the only flirtation with winter weather that we're going to have into the weekend. I'm going to advance this a little bit more. Going into Saturday, nothing major there, but notice how you saw the accumulation map change a little bit. That's because on Saturday morning, we're going to have another bit of moisture move in with some cold air that could generate some additional flurries, mainly in North Georgia. For us here in Atlanta, it's going to be just some lighter showers that'll be moving in. Now today, we were in the 50s. We're still well above freezing out there right now. We're at 46 degrees at this hour. And these temperatures are really going to start falling here during the overnight. You can see how we were lowest at 11 o'clock this morning. We got up to 52 at 4, and now we're going to watch those temperatures falling. So we're at 47 here, but look up to Canton where it's 38. We also have 38 in Blairsville, 37 in Clayton. So the colder air is starting to come in. Dalton's still holding on at 41. I expect to see that temperature dropping a little bit more. Rome is going to be dropping soon. And then we're still in the 40s, 47-ish here, 46 down into Peachtree City and Covington. So this cold air is going to start spilling our way overnight. And just look what happens. 45 degrees at 10, 39 at midnight, 34 at 2 in the morning. We'll be at freezing, I'm thinking, by, between 2 and 3 in the morning. And then in the 20s at 4, 25 at 6 a.m., and then slow to warm tomorrow, even with a lot of sunshine. We're just not going to see a lot of warming. The wind is really going to be whipping around. It is just going to be cold out there. So we've got this last bit of moisture moving down to the south. And remember, even though we don't see anything here on the forecast track indicating rain in North Georgia, it is just that cold air coming in, squeezing out remaining moisture in those clouds. But once those clouds break up, we won't see any more of that snow that is taking place up there. And so tomorrow, northwest flow, it's going to be windy. It is going to be cold all throughout the day, only getting up to 38 degrees here in the afternoon hours with sunshine. Then Friday, another cold start in the 20s, but we do warm up Friday, high temperatures into the 50s, right around 50 degrees on Friday afternoon. Then another system comes in going into, let's say, late Friday night, overnight into Saturday. Here we go at 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, showers in northwest Georgia, nothing in Atlanta yet. But again, watch up there in the mountains through the overnight hours on Saturday. You see how we see some of that mixing again in those highest elevations there. This is at 5 in the morning. We'll have just showers here. Our temperatures will be excuse me, above freezing, generally just, some raindrops here as that moves through. And then that sets the stage for another blast of cold air that we're really going to be feeling later Saturday and into Sunday. So here again is the deal coming in for Saturday. With some mixing in North Georgia. Then watch going into Sunday. This is the newest development that we have showing up on the models. I'm showing you the European model because that's the one that I have a little more confidence in. It is showing a better chance. Now again, what's happening here, we have an area of low pressure that could be developing there in the Gulf. And based on this track, where that low would pretty much cross over southeast Georgia and move up the coast, that would keep the moisture to the south of us, and central Georgia and South Georgia would have a better chance for snow than we would here in Atlanta. It's going to be cold enough for snow here in Atlanta, but if that low stays down to the south, that would keep the moisture down to the south. And of course, you would need moisture to mix in with the cold air over us for us to have snow. But that's just one scenario. Look, again, through Sunday, again, the European model showing later in the day, the Georgia coast, the South Carolina coast, potentially getting in on some of that snow, but not here for us. Now, the GFS model is showing something much different. And I'm going to show you the model comparison here. First, let's just kind of walk you through into next week from the European model showing more cold air next week, dry conditions, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We'll have lows in the 20s, highs in the 40s. So I hesitate to show you the snow comparison because your eye is going to gravitate to the American model, which is going with that low pushing into our area, where if that happened, we would see a better chance for snow here. But I have to tell you, as a meteorologist, it is my job not just to throw maps at you like a lot of people are doing on social media. It's my job to analyze these maps and to understand the biases of these maps. The GFS model often in wintertime throws crazy stuff out there and then it starts scaling back on it. So what we're going to be watching for over the next few days will be the trends. Now, we have more than these two models. We have European AI, we have deterministic models, we have ensemble models. So what we're going to be looking at is a lot of those models here over the next few days. Right now, the GFS is really the only one that's going this crazy about the snow, and that is one of the things that happens with the GFS model. So I'm showing you this just to explain the differences, but just because you see this map and you may see people sharing this on social media doesn't mean that that's going to happen. We have to look at all the models and compare. Most of them are trending more like this, which would be nothing over the metro area, and that better chance for snow down on the south side. So we're going to keep watching it. Try to stay with trusted meteorologists who study the models and understand them versus just putting them out there to try to get clicks and shares on social media. But I'm not even putting this one on social media because I don't think that that is going to happen. It could, but that's what we as meteorologists are going to be watching over the next few days, is just the differences within those models and watching the trends. And if the GFS starts kind of pushing it more to the south, or if the European starts pushing it back up toward the north. That's what we're going to be sharing with you over the next few days. But the whole big story is going to be the cold air coming in here. Just be ready to bundle up all day tomorrow from the cold, from the wind, another surge coming in for the weekend. And then it's going to stay cold going through next week too, with those lows in the 20s and highs only in the 40s for next week. So you can see some of the ups and downs here. Tomorrow, only a high of 38. And then Friday morning, starting off at 25. But in the afternoon, we're back up to 50. Saturday morning, above freezing at about 37. Afternoon highs around 48. But then it gets cold again later Saturday into Sunday. And on Sunday, that's where we have to watch that moisture. Right now, based on what the European is showing us, we may not have any rain here, and that rain or snow would be down to the south of us, but we'll keep you posted if that changes. And then there's that really cold air coming in for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with dry conditions, lows in the 20s, and also highs in the 40s. All right, I'll be back with you tonight at 10 for another update. If Angelina is seeing some good snow again up at Hogpen Gap, we'll check in with her again at the top of the hour at 10. Otherwise, it'll be me with an update. And then we'll be back with you tonight at 11. Angelina will join us live again for 11 Alive News tonight at 11, along with Ron, Jennifer, Cody, the whole crew who are out delivering and gathering news stories. And we'll have that more for you coming up tonight at 11 on 11 Alive on 11 Alive Plus. Thanks for watching. meteorologist Chris Holcomb with another extended live weather update here on 11 Alive Plus. We have been doing these streams for you throughout the evening as we have been watching the changing weather conditions moving in, and that included some snow in some higher elevations of North Georgia. If you were watching us at 9 o'clock, we had a great live shot with Angelina Salcido. She and her photographer and driver, Nicholas, were up at Hog Pen Gap at about between 3,400 and 3,500 feet in elevation, and they were seeing snow up there. We had a great look at that, but it was a brief burst of snow. Now things are calming down there right now, and the big story is not snow, but the big story is really the cold air that's moving in, and we're beginning that process out there right now. So here's what we're going to be watching here through the nighttime hours tonight, and then during the day tomorrow. We're going to see this Arctic air arriving beginning now, but you're really going to be feeling it more during the day tomorrow. We're going to see lows in the morning in the 20s, and then highs in the afternoon only in the 30s at about 38 degrees. And it's going to be very windy. So with the wind, it's going to feel colder. We're talking about wind chill readings that are going to be in the single digits and teens at times here during the day on your Thursday. Then we have another reinforcing shot of colder air coming in on Saturday. As that moves in, there'll be a little bit of moisture with that. There'll be the potential in far north Georgia of some winter weather mixing in, but not really for us here in Atlanta. Then the newest development that we have being reflected on the models right now is for the second half of the weekend on Sunday. Will we have another surge of moisture to give us winter precip? There are a lot of different scenarios on the models right now. One of those, actually I'm going to show you a couple of those models in just a few minutes here, but one of those shows the chance for some snow in middle Georgia and south Georgia. That would be higher chances there than it would even be here in North Georgia. So I'll explain that here for you coming up in just a little bit. But just know that we're going to be fine-tuning these models over the next few days, and hopefully we'll be able to narrow down more on that forecast. Right now, it's Wednesday. We're talking about Sunday. We're going to be starting to get some high-resolution model data in soon, and that will help us to kind of fine-tune this forecast a little bit more. So let's talk about what we're watching with the radar tonight. We had these bands of rain moving in, had some, just isolated showers here and there. We've got this one going through the metro area right now. That is mainly light rain that's pushing down toward the south. It'll be ending inside the perimeter. It's ended on the north side of the perimeter already, but now it's pretty much along I-20 southward, also over on the east side perimeter there in DeKalb County, and that's going to keep pushing down to the south. Along I-20, we have a few more of those showers near Conyers and Rockdale County, pushing up into parts of Walton County. Also here, south and west of the city, we have a few showers there, moving down 85 into parts of Coweta County and also into Heard County too. This is the last bit of organized rain that is going to be moving in. This is in association with the cold front, the actual cold front pushing in. What we still have to watch, though, is in far north Georgia. Even though you're not really seeing any echoes here from any precip coming down, the colder air is moving in, and what it's doing is it is squeezing out any remaining moisture in these clouds in the form of a few snow flurries. Nothing really major there, but just know that there are still just a few spotty flurries in the area. But what's going to be happening tonight, those clouds are going to start eroding pretty quickly, and the wind that is there is hopefully going to be drying up whatever water that is on the ground. It's going to be drying that up as those temperatures fall to near freezing. So I want folks, especially in far north Georgia, just to watch for some icy patches possible, but I don't think it's going to be widespread icing there. I really think a lot of that is going to be drying out before we get down to the freezing mark. And as you can see, nothing else, no additional precip is moving in. It's just those winds are shifting, coming out of the north and west, and that's going to be ushering in that colder air that we're going to be feeling. Here is a live look right now. I want to put this up full screen. Oh, what happened there? Oh, right, here's just a look. I'll just put this up full screen this way. Here's a look at what we're watching right now in areas of North Georgia. This is up in Blue Ridge, where we have those weather conditions that are still wet. You can see the on the ground there, the moisture that is on the ground, and that is where we have the water from some of the rain that came through a little bit earlier today, and that's going to continue moving on as you can see here, staying kind of wet there right now. But we think, again, that is going to be drying up too before the temperatures fall to around the freezing mark. You see the light just change green. You can see the reflection on the road where it is wet. This is in Rome. The roads are still wet there, but look at the flags blowing right now in Rome. That is from those winds that are kicking up here behind that front, and that's what's ushering in that colder air. And this is our view right now at Georgia Tech, where in the city skyline there, where we still have some clouds around. We're just not seeing much or any real precip coming down right now in Atlanta. Now we're on the back edge of it. We had some just a few minutes ago. Now we're on the back edge of that as that rain is pushing on out. And then here's our other view from our tower cam over on Arizona Avenue, where we can see, again, a beautiful view of the skyline. And those clouds are going to be breaking up during the nighttime hour. So here's a look still at that snow potential. We've already pretty much reached our snow potential. This would be for any additional snow coming down, and it might be in just that small area there in parts of Union County, Lumpkin County, and not too far off from White County. But we've already seen some spots that have picked up some snow, but not really seeing much in the form of accumulation there. And then going into Saturday, all right, so this is going into through Saturday. Another batch moves through, and we'll have to watch these higher elevations again going into Saturday morning with the potential for some additional snow that could be coming in. So that's the second thing that we have to watch. Then the next one we have to watch is potential here for Sunday. Here's a look at the almanac where we got up to 52 today. That was a little bit below the average. We should be at 54 this time of year. Our low was 43, above average. These temperatures are going to be much lower tomorrow, and they're going to be much below average. We're only going to see highs in the 30s here for tomorrow afternoon. You can see how those temperatures kind of timed out today. Coolest time was at 11 o'clock in the morning, and then we got up to 52 in the afternoon hours, right at about 4 o'clock. And now we're holding at 47, but it's going to be interesting to watch these temperatures during the overnight hours as they fall. Right now, in town, we're at 47 degrees, as I mentioned. But look up to the north. It's 38 in Canton, 36 in Blairsville, 33 in Clayton, 38 in Carrollton. This is the colder air that's going to start pushing into our area tonight, and you're going to be feeling it if you're out tonight as those temperatures fall. So by tomorrow morning, we're going to be at about 26 degrees to start. Look at all these mid-20s, some lower 20s, even teens. Blairsville might be at 18 degrees. And then at lunchtime, 34, so above freezing, maybe between 11 and 12, maybe between 10 and 11 there, getting back to above freezing. And then through the afternoon, only getting up to 37 to 38 degrees for a high temperature here. So it is going to be cold everywhere here during the day tomorrow. And again, with that wind, it's going to feel even colder. Thursday night, we're back to the 20s at about 10 o'clock. And then in the morning time on Friday, 25. But we do rebound in the afternoon, getting up to around 50 degrees here on Friday afternoon. So we start warming back up just a little bit, not as cold as it's going to be on Thursday, before the next surge of colder air moves in for the weekend. So here's what we're going to be watching over the next 12 hours. Look at these temperatures, how they fall. 42 at 11, 36 at 1, 25 at 7, and then even with sunshine tomorrow, it's going to be very slow to warm during the daytime hours. We're only going to get up to about 37, 38 degrees for that high temperature. So here's the forecast track. We've pretty much watched that moisture as it's moving down toward the south and also to the east. And we'll see the clouds breaking up over North Georgia. So it's really going to be this northwest flow coming in here that's going to just kind of push in that really cold air and also the wind. So in the morning, 20s. In the afternoon, sunshine, but only getting up into the 30s. We go back to the 20s Friday morning, but then look what happens Friday. Look at the arrows coming back out of the south and west. That's going to help us warm back up Friday afternoon to 50. Still below average, but just by 4 degrees compared to the 30s that we're going to have here on Thursday. Then on Saturday, another system comes in Friday night, overnight into Saturday. This is at about 1 in the morning Friday night into early Saturday morning, rain coming back in. Watch as the rain moves into metro Atlanta here, liquid variety of precip. But then notice 5 in the morning, some mixing happening again up in far north Georgia. But it'll be just rain here in metro Atlanta. Saturday afternoon, we'll see still that cold air with us, but milder air with us, but it's going to get cold again on Sunday. So there's the first system coming in Friday night and into Saturday. And then this is where it gets interesting getting into Sunday morning. This is almost a new development, new feature that has been showing up on the models over the past few runs, and that is the potential of an area of low pressure developing to the south of us. I'm leaning with this scenario here from the European model. This model's been a little more reliable. The American model has been all over the place with winter weather, and I'm going to show you the comparison to the GFS here in a couple of minutes, which is kind of going crazy, and I don't think that's going to happen. I even hesitate to show it to you because that's what people gravitate toward. They look at the worst model possible and get all excited about it. But the European model is the one that I'm kind of leaning with, that I think is more favorable to be more realistic, is showing the low staying more down to the south. And with that, that would keep the moisture to the south. The cold air is going to be in place already. It's already going to be established here. And this moisture moves up into it. So there will be a better chance on Sunday, based on this scenario, that central and south Georgia would have snow, a better chance than we would here in metro Atlanta or in north Georgia. We'll have the cold air here, but we're lacking the moisture. And if that moisture stays to the south, they would see a better chance for snow there. So that's what we're going to be watching here through the day on Saturday. That moves up to the north and east, maybe along the Georgia coast even, around Hilton Head, up toward Charleston, the South Carolina coast, up toward Columbia. Maybe some snow happening there based on this scenario. And then it all moves out. And then really into next week, we're just talking about more cold air, lows in the 20s, highs in the 40s going into the first part of next week with dry weather and dry air in place. All right, so now I'm going to show you the GFS model in comparison to the European model. Remember, the European model shows nothing over us with that snow well down to the south. Well, the American model is kind of going a little bit crazy, thinking that the low would push more up to the north. And if that happens, it would move moisture our way already into an established cold air mass, and that would cause us to have some snow. But I have to tell you, the GFS has been the most unreliable model so far, especially this winter with all these winter scenarios. And it is known for showing crazy stuff in the extended, and then it all kind of disappears. Now, what's different with this, though, this is within 4 or 5 days. So what we're going to be watching over the next few days with each new model run that comes in is our job as meteorologists to not just see a scary model and post it on social media and say, oh, wow, look at this. It's our job as meteorologists to look at all of the models. And we have more than just these two. These are the two main ones. But you see there are vast differences in these models. So we're going to be watching the trends over the next few days to see if the GFS settles down, or to see if the GFS pushes the moisture down to the south, or to even see if the European starts pushing the moisture back up into our area. So that's our job as meteorologists, to watch for these trends and then analyze that and then let you know what we think is going to happen based on what we're seeing. Because we understand the biases of some of the models, and we understand what the GFS has been doing so far this year. So right now I'm leaning more toward the European model, but watch us every day this week and through the weekend, as we'll be updating you on this when new model data comes in. Really, the bigger story will be those surges of cold air. We've got really cold air that'll be in place here on Thursday. Then it gets a little milder Friday. Then another surge of cold air coming in for the weekend. And then it pretty much stays cold going into next week. So here's what we're going to be watching going through the next 7 days, where we have those temperatures tomorrow that are going to be cold. A low of 25, a high of 38 with mostly sunny skies. Mostly sunny Friday, cold again in the morning at 25, but we get up to 50 in the afternoon. Then we're watching that moisture that's going to be moving in early on Saturday, a few flurries possible in far north Georgia. Sunday, depending on what happens, if the low develops and then what the track of that low would be will determine what type of weather we have on Sunday. Right now, we think the moisture would stay to the south, but it would be colder here at 38 for a high. And then there you see the lows in the 20s, highs in the 40s here for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with the drier pattern setting up. So thanks for joining us for this extended weather update here on 11 Alive Plus. We're going to have another update tonight at 11 on 11 Alive News here on 11 Alive Plus. Angelina Salcido will join us again live up from North Georgia to let us know what she's been seeing up there with some of the snow flurries, and we'll prepare you for the really cold air coming in for tomorrow. Stay with us. We'll have much more coming up tonight at 11. Thanks for joining us.